Okay, so today I'm experimenting with my new lights. So the setup is like that. I got the camera there. I will just turn it on in a moment. And there is this huge light on 150. And actually, I'm kind of surprised because I was able to fit the light on here. And it's kind of motivating the window, like you can see the window in the shot, and the purpose is to see if I'm able to expose my face correctly and window correctly at the same time. So I got 6 stops of ND on the camera, and I have to check 4 looks with light on 150, 4 looks with light on 3, and then I will bring my Godox F600Bi to see if this one is able to expose correctly. I bet light dome 150 won't allow to expose correctly, maybe with the lighter diffusion, I don't know, but I will check the exposure. I created a LUT for Atomos in DaVinci Resolve, and it seems like the softbox is on the verge of being visible in the shot, but we'll see. The shot is in the camera is kind of light area, dark area, light area, dark area. So I opened the other window, like opened the blinds. So I think I have to move in the middle between the two, and that would create more interest. And this is only about the key light, so no other lights except of course windows. And as you can see, maybe I will turn on the camera actually. Yeah, so I think that's the frame. The problem is that with 6 stops of ND, Sony don't even see my face. It focuses randomly on the plants there because it thinks there is some face. So this is the look without any external lights, so nothing really. So I will check the exposure on my face. Anyway, so I will check what is the exposure from the window, and I got, maybe I will need to press the correct button. And the lame thing is that today it's cloudy and it changes. Sometimes there is a full sun, sometimes it's totally cloudy, like at the moment. But to be on the safe side, I use 6 stops of ND, and I wouldn't switch to anything else. So let me turn on the light, and now I will check what is the exposure on my face. And it says 2 stops, which means it is too dark. With this LUT I created for monitoring, it doesn't look that bad, although generally it seems it is too dark. Like, I mean, yes, the windows are exposed correctly with 6 stops. If there would be full sun in the window, 6 stops might not be enough, but at the moment 4 stops probably would be okay because it's really overcast. But there are panels, solar panels on the roof, and they got this silver frame, and this silver frame reflects a lot of light. And if there is a full sun or more sun, then at the moment this creates the really strong highlight. So to prevent this from being overexposed, I use 6 stops. And sometimes the clouds are reflecting the sun. They are also not overexposed with 6 stops. So yeah, it is what it is. So actually, I mean, if I monitor with different look, for example Rec 709, it looks better, but this is different look, and probably I won't have this look created in DaVinci. Maybe if I use the sublight LUT, we'll see. But this is recorded in S-Log3 standard settings, so ISO 800, f2.8, 180 degrees shutter speed. So, and if I check the exposure, like this is exposed half or one stop over, which means for S-Log3 it is underexposed. This is LiDAR 150 with 2 stops diffusion and no crate. I mean, if I attach the crate it would be darker, but I have to check it anyway, how different this looks. So I will check it in a second. I mean, if I monitor with this setting, so if I monitor with this setting, it looks okay, but I know this is underexposed and the sun is going out, so probably there would be changes in exposure in the window because it's like random today, but I had to check this. So okay, this is LiDAR 150, no crate, double 2 stops diffusion, and definitely, and it is of course running at 100%. Aputure 600D, and the light is Aputure 600D, I guess I forgot to say it. So Aputure 600D, 100%, LiDAR 150, and I say it's not enough. Of course, with this setting it's okay, but if I switch to standard Rec 709 transformation in DaVinci, then it is really dark. So I mean, sure, I can boost exposure in post, but if I boost exposure in post, then I would probably overexpose the windows. So it is what it is. I will attach the crate, which doesn't make any sense, but I want to see the difference. 600D is not enough, and Godox would be able to generate like one more stop, which probably won't be enough too. We'll see. But 6 stop is kinda hardcore. I started with 5, but there were some overexposed elements in the window, so I switched to 6. Anyway, I will attach the crate and see how this looks. So once again, maybe I will see what is the exposure, because I forgot 2. It is 2 stops and 7/10, so 2 stops 0.7, and the battery here is dying also, so I have to switch a lot of batteries before next shot. Okay, so now I have a grid attached to LiDAR 150. Aputure 600D running at 100%. I can maybe see it's a bit darker. I would record some small clip, because what is hardcore with this setup, that camera is almost touching the modifier, and if I would try to deattach it, I probably duck up the camera, so I have to move the camera probably, and then to match the frame I have to use the onion frame on the Atomos. So yeah, that's why I have to record a bit, but maybe I will try to do it without moving the camera. Yeah, maybe it would be easier to move a light a bit. Anyway, this is the look with the crate attached and 2 stops of diffusion. Let me check what is the exposure of my face. 1.4, so this is definitely underexposed, like 1 stop, more than 1 stop less with the crate. It looks kind of okay when I monitor with this setting. If I monitor with the LUT, it's dark as hell, so it's definitely underexposed. I mean, this is hardcore scenario with 6 stops of ND, but the sun now it's totally, I think there are some reflections in the cloud which are really bright, and maybe you can actually see this, but other than that I'm underexposed. So 1.4.4 in terms of exposure of my face, so that should be 4 stops, 4.3 with these settings in the camera, so I got like 2.8, so 3 stops under on my face. I wonder if I check the false colors, there are some areas on the sky with 4 stops over, so it is not that this is like the 6 stops is too much, but my face is like -2, -1 stop, so definitely underexposed. So now I will change the diffusion and we'll see if that's any better. Should be better, because that should be like 1 stop more, but still with this huge modifier probably won't cut it. And I also wonder how far away is the diffusion from my face, like 90 centimeters, maybe 85, so less than 3 feet, so quite close. I hope it's not in the shot, because it's kind of hard to tell. Anyway, yeah, this also shows how hard it is to use such a big modifier. Maybe I would push it back when I change the diffusion, but with this diffusion I know it's not enough, even if it is that close, so it wouldn't change anything. If something, it would be even worse, so doesn't matter that much. Anyway, let me switch the diffusion and we'll see if this is any better. I doubt it. Okay, so now I have 1 stop diffusion, and it seems that the thing which was visible in the corner here, it was actually the crate. So without the crate the modifier is not in the shot, so I haven't pushed it back. So what is the exposure now? This 2.8, so still a bit underexposed, which means there is a chance the Godox would be able to expose this shot correctly. Depends probably on the diffusion. So now 1 stop diffusion, I'm not sure this look, I mean, even if I'm monitoring with this DaVinci LUT, it looks kinda okay. Now again, the sky 4 stops over and my face is up to 1 stop over, which is on the verge of being okay for S-Log. I mean, 1.3, I would prefer to have 2 stops on my face over like 1.5, but actually Sekonic is showing 2.8, so Sekonic says it is like, when I measure here, which might be true, so Sekonic says it is like, it is just 0 EV, which is not good for S-Log 3. And you have to have in mind that if I got 5 stops of ND, that actually might be exposed correctly. So unfortunately this is the lowest stop this filter goes, so I have to swap the filters, but we know 1 stop less everything would be exposed, 1 stop higher, but then there would be a chance that actually the window is overexposed. So let's stick with that, with 6 stops, and I have to see this on the big screen to be 100% sure. And I will mount the crate to see the difference, and maybe I will have to push it a bit, but maybe I'll keep it the same distance for the experiment's sake. And yes, note to myself, even though there is some room behind the modifier and behind the light, it is really hard to attach the diffusion and everything if there is a small gap like that between. It's like 1 feet between modifier and the table. So since this modifier is big, so maybe if you 7 feet tall, then sure, or you got your hands are touching the ground when you stand, then maybe you are okay. But other than that, it was quite hard to attach the diffusion, to change the diffusion and attach the grate. So not to myself, this modifier is big and hard to handle. Okay, so now I have a crate, one-stop diffusion, and you can see here it's actually the crate in the shot, and it unvelcroed itself for some reason. Anyway, this looks really dark. Maybe if I switch to this. So actually I guess it's quite important that with the crate, let me see, it's one stop less. Can you see? Yes, F2. So around one stop less than without the crate, which means if you want to cut light, shape light with the crate, you won't be able to do it with this modifier and Aputure 600D. I mean, I knew this already because I've seen someone's creating a documentary and they got big windows in the background, and even if they haven't got the sun shining directly through, they use 1200D plus 600D in this big modifier. They use actually the same modifier. So I knew this won't be enough. The A600, the Aputure 600D won't be enough to cut this, but I mean, it probably doesn't look bad. There is probably some room in post to expose correctly. I mean, sure, I can like create a maybe gradient diagonally and like expose myself more than the window, but I mean, it's additional work, so it is the best to expose. It is the best to expose your shot in camera correctly, then fix something in post. So these were 4 looks with Aputure 600D and Light Dome 150. So now I'll try to deattach this, and probably with Light Dome 3 I would be able to push it closer to myself, but I'm not sure. We'll see. Anyway, let me switch the modifier and then let me switch the light. So 4 more looks with Light Dome, Light Dome 3. Maybe with Light Dome 3 I wouldn't have to use 100% of this light, but I kind of adapted. So for all looks it was at 100%. So this is one-stop diffusion and a crate. And the crate is in the shot. Yeah, and actually my face is now really underexposed. It's like 0 EV. Like here is really small stop when it's plus half EV, and the rest is 0 EV or darker, which means this is underexposed. So this almost touching because I would like to attach the Godox similar way, although I won't be able to, and I will explain this later. Now it's Light Dome 3, and it seems not to be in the shot, so it is and there is a spider. Anyway, this LiDOM 3, 2 stops of diffusion and a crate, and you can see here I'm like half a stop overexposed, which also seems the exposure is not enough, but unfortunately the window is now like only 3 stops over and mostly 2 because it's really overcast now. There is no direct sun and all the clouds are really dark, but I will pretend that we got a really sunny weather, and that's why I'm using 6 stops of ND. And as you can see, the crate creates a circle. Like here the exposure drops really fast, and compared to the previous shot with the bigger modifier, this looks quite different. I will check how far away this is. This probably might be, maybe I will be able to move it closer. This is exactly the same length, like between 85 and 90 centimeters from my face. And what does the Sekonic says? Maybe I checked it already, probably not. So Sekonic says 2 stops 0.3. So I think a bit brighter than before with the 1 stop diffusion and a crate with bigger modifier, which means like I would gain probably 1 stop here with smaller modifier. When I monitor this with the LUT I created, it is underexposed. That's the look with the crate, and I think this is 2 stops diffusion because I got 4 of these diffusions, so maybe I'm wrong, but I got 1 stop there. So when I monitor with the built-in Rec 709 look from Atomos, this looks okay, but when I monitor with the LUT I created in DaVinci, this is definitely underexposed. So I will remove the crate and see what is the look without the crate. Okay, now we are going somewhere probably, and unfortunately the crate is in the shop, so I have to detach it. I think this LUT from DaVinci is kind of weird. It looks really dark, and how this looks in terms of exposure. Yes, now I got like 1 stop over here, and the window is still 3 stops over most, but we have to pretend it's sunny. Anyway, it's quite bright, the light is quite bright, so let me check with the Sekonic. .8, 0.3. So it is still underexposed in terms of the S-log, because it should be 4 stops 0.3 here. That's all I like, to have my face 1 stop 0.3 overexposed in S-log, but it's going somewhere. So probably with 1 stop diffusion, that would be like the perfect look with this modifier. So maybe with Godox I won't be using this at 100% power, we'll see. Anyway, this is LiDOM 3, 2 stops diffusion, and maybe it even looks like this is motivated, like the light is motivated by the window. Maybe. Anyway, that's the look. So I'm probably looking too much on the screen, but you know, I'm just recording this for myself and sharing for someone who can be interested. So with LiDAR 3 and 2 stops of diffusion, I think it is still a bit too dark with 6 stops of ND, but with 1 stop that should be okay. So I'm going to switch the diffusion. Okay, now it is maybe even overexposed. Yeah, might be the case. So if I check it here is 4 stops, so actually here is okay, but if I check it here on my maybe okay, so I will leave it at 100%. I can always like dial it down. So this is LiDAR 3 1-stop diffusion. Yeah, and it says now here I'm 2 stops over, which is still fine for S-Log. I can dial it down. Maybe I will check at 90% in a second if this is any better. So this is 100% Aputure 600D, LiDAR 3 1-stop diffusion. There is some light leaking because this Velcro is not the best in the world, and it seems a bit overexposed even. So I will drop this to this linear, so let's make it 80%. Now I think it looks better, but I think this 2 stops diffusion creates harsher look. So this 2 stops one is denser and the light is more diffused, but maybe I'm wrong. I have to compare this on the bigger screen. Now maybe the exposure is better because this +2 spot is smaller. So this is at 80% now. 1-stop diffusion, no crate. I will attach the crate in a second. So it is possible to expose. So it is possible to expose the window correctly with Aputure 600D, but the look is harsher that with the bigger modifier, and I can see even without the crate that there is more shadow in the background. So I mean, the problem is that actually now it is like fully cloudy and probably there would be a storm in a second. So the weather is not perfect today. It's kind of playing with me. Now even I can see that like the window is 1 stop over some parts, but some parts are 2 stops and there are 3 stops there when there is no dark cloud, so maybe it would be better in a second. So I'm going back to 100%, switching this off, and we'll attach the grid. So now 1-stop diffusion, and it is like 1 stop darker already. So here is f2.8 exactly. f2.8, and on my forehead f2.8.2. So in terms of S-Log, it is underexposed. It is like, it claims it's 0.2 overexposed, but the false color says it's +1. Weird. So hard to say what's going on. Anyway, this with the crate and with the false color, you can see here that light is dropping really hard with the crate. It was not the case without the crate, so this is a bit different look. I mean, looks kinda okay. The sky is even darker. The brightest thing is +2 stops, so I mean, this is kinda maybe the look you want. Like, I want the talent to be the brightest in a scene, but if there would be full sun, that won't happen. So this is LiDAR 3 1-stop diffusion and a crate, and this create this looks. And now I will try to switch to Godox and we'll see. With Godox the problem is that I won't be able to angle it to the same angle as this one probably, but we'll see. I'd say I'm able to combat the sun with Aputure 600D and Light Dome 3, and probably there would be a scenario that if there are curtains in the window and the sun is not directly in the window, you can get away with 4 or 5 stops, usually 5 stops of ND, which means I would probably able to expose with this smaller light dome with any diffusion. But in the scenario when I'm using 6 stops of ND, I'm only able to expose this correctly with 1-stop diffusion. Create 1-stop diffusion, Light Dome 3, Aputure 600D at 100%, and that's the look. So let me switch to Godox, which would take some time. Yeah, and this looks like that. So this is definitely much smaller than 150 Light Dome, and you can actually operate in tight spaces with this modifier and Aputure 600D. So not a problem, and it's not with this configuration and 35mm, it's not in the frame. I'm kind of surprised, but it's not. So now I will try to bring my Godox big boy. So I have my Godox attached, and the small problem is, as I mentioned before, is the angle I can create with this stand. I mean, the plus of this is that this is like 60 centimeters deep from the front of the light to the back leg. So here is like 60 and maybe even less than 60 centimeters, so 2 feet. But since this spigot is not long enough, I mean, I could probably put a longer spigot here from the C-stand, but that would be really long till here. So it is possible to angle it a bit more with different spigot than this one, but at the moment it's like that. So I will test it with this configuration and maybe switch to this longer rod. But this is basically the frame hits the stand here, so you are not able to angle it more because this part is quite short. So I got some different stands that I'm able to like even boom this big light, but with this I'm testing like in the cramped place, so we'll see. Anyway, let me see how bright it is or how dim it is. And now it is a diffusion plus this kinda bad crate, because this crate does not cut much light. So now it is the Godox, which is weirdly placed, so not that bright, I'd say. I expected it will be brighter because it is at 100%, but it is too high. So first of all, it's too high, and second of all, it is not angled properly, so I have to lower this. Okay, now it is lower. So, but still I'm surprised this is not that bright. Yeah, I mean this. Yeah, the Light Dome 3 with 1-stop diffusion is brighter, so not that much of a surprise, because now it is with the diffusion and the crate. Let's see what it says. It says f2.8.2, so exactly what it was with Light Dome, I think. And this is the look. So looks actually quite nice although it is really dark outside. So if I switch to the LUT, it's a bit too dark, and if I switch to Rec 709, it looks kinda okay. So this is Godox, and I can create 4 looks with Godox because it's as this one is diffusion and a crate. I will remove the crate and then I will remove the diffusion, and without the diffusion there is a built-in diffusion, so I can also attach the crate to see how this looks like. And the sky, the window is 2 stops over, so I could get away with 4 stops of ND here, so this would be right, and it's running at 100%, 5600 Kelvin. And actually it's now in the frame, so I will push it a bit farther away. It bounces, okay, like that. So that's the look. Maybe it dropped a bit. f2.8.2, so the same. Yeah, so that's the look with Godox, and actually based on what I see here, it is the most pleasing look. That's the Godox. I will remove this lousy crate and see if there is any difference. Now it is without the crate, so let me check. And Sekonic says it is almost 4 stops. It depends how I angle that, probably 2.8.9. So still for the S-Log it is underexposed, but on the screen it looks actually quite nice. But when I switch to the LUT, it is kinda weird. I think I rotated myself a bit. So yeah, I think that it depends which look I use to monitor this and what. Yeah, this is probably the proper exposure, because here I got plus 2 stops, so might be the case. It is quite okay. When I remove the diffusion, it might be actually overexposed with this light. So Godox F600Bi with a diffusion, no crate, and at 100%. And definitely the Godox ballast is louder, seems louder. There is a, when measured with the sound meter, it is more or less the same sound pressure as ballast from 600D, but the sound from Godox ballast is got higher pitch, so it seems more audible for human ear. But at the moment I think the Atomos is still the loudest device on this set. So, but yeah, this looks nice, although now it is so dark outside that actually the window is just 1 stop over. I'm actually exposed the same way as the window is, but it is because it is very cloudy. And as when I started this, it was plus 4 stops, so it actually got like 3 stops darker outside. But yeah, I think that looks okay. And again, this is only about the key light, not any other lights except the key light and the windows. So the problem is that it would be kind of hard to expose any light in the background. It would be quite dark, but maybe practicals should be dark anyway. So this is still 6 stops of ND. And one thing, this light is really bright. So okay, I will detach the diffusion, and I think with detached diffusion that would be overexposed, so maybe I would have to tone down a bit. Okay, so now it is without the diffusion Godox 600Bi. It is just like half stop more because it is now 4 stops 0.4, so maybe I shouldn't tame it down. So this is full power, and it is so here there is a huge +2 stops spot on my face, so maybe it is now even overexposed. Maybe I would tame it down a bit. This is the look. There is the softbox attached because actually the softbox beams light a bit, but based on what I see, there is no, like, everything is lit in the room. Actually, even background is really bright, and unfortunately, but it's not in the shot, there is a TV set in the back, and the light is reflected there, but it's not in the shot, fortunately. So yes, this is the look without the diffusion. So maybe I would go to 90%. It's 90%. Maybe it looks even better, but still +2 stops on my forehead. So this is 90%. Now it is f4 on my face, f4.1 at 80%, and this +2 stops spot almost disappeared, maybe not almost, so I will go to 70. Now it is 70%, probably 4 stops. No, f2.8.8, and I guess it looks okay, but I have to check this on the big screen to be 100% sure. With the LUT from DaVinci, it looks a bit dim. So I will attach the crate and create the last look, but we'll come back to 100%. Yeah, I think that, like, based on what I see on Atomos, F600Bi looks the best, even though the area is a bit smaller than Lidon 150, but Lidon 150 was like 2 stops dimmer, so yeah. Anyway, let me attach the grid. What is good about this light that you can attach the grid within like 10 seconds or 20, because it is a square, so you just attach in the corners and then just Velcro it really fast. Anyway, that's the look without the diffusion and with this shitty grid, which is included. At full power it is f2.8.9. So in theory still underexposed. In reality, hard to say, it's really bright. But the window now, it's getting a bit brighter, so there is +4 cloud, and at 100% I got a really small patch of +2, which means this is probably proper exposure on my face. Hard to guess. I will check this, but this grid is really lame. I don't see much of a difference. Maybe there is a small difference here in the corner, like here maybe it cuts a bit of light. Like before it was kinda unified here, Now there is this darker area, but it's hard to say, but not that much of a difference. And probably there in the background it is a bit darker, but other than that, this grid is kind of shitty, so I have to order the custom one for this light. But other than that, I think this light allows the best exposure of the lights I have. I do not have 1200 watt COB light, probably 1200 would be even better, but now this says 14,000 lux. So, and I wonder how far away I am from the lights itself. It's 1 meter from the light. It was like 90 centimeters from the diffusion probably. So yeah, I wonder what was the exposure without the grid. So we'll check this. So that's the last of the 12 looks, and I think based on what I've seen on Atomos, that looks with Godox F600Bi are the best. Although if you are going for more dramatic look, then the smaller light dome might be the better choice, because this is big and this also looks like a window, because the catch light in the eye is square. Okay, so I detached the grid because I want to check what is the... Okay, it's, as you can see, it is 20,000 lux without the grid and without the diffusion. So it is definitely the brightest light, because I can have this reading with Aputure 600D like 24,000 lux without any modifier, so bare COB, and this is really bright. So I think this is now overexposed. Is 4 stops 0.4, but it's probably on a verge of being properly exposed in S-Log3. So this is like the brightest this could go, and it's like around 1 meter from my face. So definitely the most powerful of the lights I have. And yeah, I hope that's it. I will compare this on the screen and see which look is okay. And of course this is with 6 stops of ND. So now the brightest part of the window is +3, so not that bright because it's really cloudy. But if there would be a sun with 6 stops, sometimes I've seen +6 stops, so this is also on the verge of being properly exposed if this is really sunny outside. Anyway, 6 stops I think is a safe bet. If you got FX6 camera with built-in NDs, then you can play it better, because you can use NDs to compensate the exposure. So you can set the exposure compensation, and the camera would keep the exposure the same if something changes, but that would also impact the face. So not sure it's a good idea. Anyway, that's all the looks, and this look is, I think, maybe overexposed even. It is at 100% and Godox F600Bi 5600 Kelvin. So I will check this on my screen to see how good it is. And the camera now says +07 EV. So for the camera, the whole scene is underexposed, but it's just this like average metering. So yeah, and someone decided to be very noisy outside. Anyway, that's it. Cheers, mate. So all these looks are created just with a simple DaVinci Resolve color space transform. So it is transformed from S-Log3 to Rec 709. There is no additional color grading, so it is just to showcase the exposure of each light. So let me know in the comments which look you like the most.